What's up, Evil Dead fans? In this video, we're going to talk about Evil Dead Rise, the trailers that dropped yesterday. Now, I'm going to mention a few things, a few references to the prior Evil Dead films, TV shows that you may have not noticed. And will I like this film? What do I think of it? What am I expecting? So the first thing I'm going to mention is there's two settings in this film. There's one in the city, and there's one at a cabin in the woods with a lake in the background. Now, the one with the lake in the background, that is a timepiece. The reason why is this photo right here. So if you notice those vehicles, one is like a mid-90s, like Chevy Suburban or Tahoe or something like that, and the other one is like a import from the 90s as well. So it looks like it is a timepiece. It has a completely different cast of characters from the ones you see in the city. I don't know if it's going to be something at the beginning of the film or later. I honestly think it's going to be beginning of the film. That's my honest opinion. And it has a little part of it concerning me a little bit, and I will get to that later. Next thing I'm going to mention is two character names in there, and one of them is a young actor. That person's character's name is Danny, which I'm guessing is named after Danny Hicks, who played Jake in Evil Dead 2, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. So the second actor I'm going to mention, that character's name is Scott. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's after Scotty. I don't think that's right. I think it's after Scott Spiegel, who worked on Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2. And Scott Spiegel actually wrote the original script with somebody else, I can't remember right now, for Evil Dead 2, where it was supposed to be set in the city. So this film really reflects on what Scott Spiegel did in that script. I've never seen the script, but I know that's where he wanted to put it. Sam didn't like it, and he brought it back to the cabin. So I think that character is named after Scott Spiegel, which is honestly very cool. So let's look at a few photos here. Here is the clock. Which you see in Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2. You see that in Ash vs. Evil Dead. And one thing that you will notice is there is no tape recorder, there is a record. Now, whether or not that plays the incantation, whether it's recording or not, we don't know. It could just be somebody playing a song on a record. So we don't know what that is yet, but it's very reminiscent of Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead 1. Another thing you will notice is one of the actors in the city setting listening to the headphones. Now, that could be them listening to the record, or it could be something online to connect to the original trilogy. We don't know that yet, but that is very reminiscent of that. Here's a photo that is very, very reminiscent of Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 1, Episode 1, the one that Sam Raimi wrote and directed, worked on. Here's the photo right here. And you will remember that when Kelly is fighting Vivian in Ash's trailer. So that's very cool. So in this photo right here, you will see the boiling water in the bathtub. Now that is very reminiscent to the 2013 Evil Dead movie with the hot shower and stuff like that. So I think that's a pretty cool thing they brought in from that film as well. The cheese grater scene that everybody freaks out about because it is gross, and if you ever touch a cheese grater, you know they're sharp, things like that. What does that reflect on? That goes back to the original Evil Dead film, to where Betsy Baker's character Linda comes back out of the grave and starts scratching at Ash's leg. That is where that comes from. So that is a great reflection back to the original Evil Dead. And the thing I will say this right now, looking at the trailer and really breaking things down, I will say Lee Cronin has done his research on this film and really put in a lot of the original Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and Ash vs. Evil Dead into it, and some 2013 Evil Dead. So Very impressive so far. Okay, let's look at the chainsaw. The chainsaw, here's a photo of the one they're using in this film right here. Now that isn't the Homelight XL, that's not the XL12, it's something a little bit different, and it's a yellow version. Now, I'm not sure if it's yellow just because that's what they could get, or if it's an homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which did inspire the original, The Evil Dead. Because the book you see in The Evil Dead, the original one, the cover was inspired by Leatherface. What Sam wanted was basically Leatherface on a book. So, with that, that could be a callback to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now let's talk about the book. The book. The book is no longer a face in this film. Now the book in this film is a mouth. So basically it's like, you know, if you take a head and put the mouth on the side so it has like teeth. It is, in my opinion, a cross between the Army of Darkness book, the Ash vs. Evil Dead book, and the Evil Dead 2 book. Because the pages are very much Evil Dead 2, Ash vs. Evil Dead. They're very weathered though, very much, you know, Evil Dead 2, but bigger and kind of nice. So it's more of Ash vs. Evil Dead, while the cover is more demonic in a sense, having those teeth, which is very Army of Darkness, instead of having the human flesh. So this is very much a Kandarian demon skin on this book, unless they say something different in the film. And I kind of dig it. I mean, it's different. I'm not going to say it's bad. And I know there's always argument, and I always have this thing of like, I like a face on the book, but I have my book, which is, that's my favorite book right there. So why not try something a little bit different? I like it way better than a 2013 stitched up piece of crap. I hate the pages in that book. I hate the look of it. I think it's very just poopy. So that's one thing I'll never have in my collection is that book. But for this movie, I do like that book. I mean, it's different. I like it. It's a mouth versus being a face. So a little bit different. I'm sure that is a big part in the movie somewhere. So you never know. Another thing to mention is the Kandarian dagger. We see something very similar like this in the film. In a way, what it is, it's a baby's head, like a baby doll head. So you find like a doll or something like that from a store, not like a real baby, but like from the store, on like a stick or something. That represents the Kandarian dagger. And the reason why we know now that that thing is important is that dagger or that prop was on the Evil Dead Rise hats that the crews got during or after filming, something like that. So it is very important, and it's to that young actor's name. I don't know her name, but it's the girl who's like, hey, you might, you know, one day you'll be a good mom. I honestly think she might be the survivor or no survivor at all. That's my thing with it. And here's my prediction of the baby head on a stick. It's gonna be a final showdown between that youngest daughter and the mother. It's gonna be like the Henrietta versus Annie. That's what it's gonna be like. And the baby head on the stick is gonna bring back like the feelings of the mom, like how Henrietta heard when she was fighting Ash, how she heard the lullaby, and all of a sudden got real sympathetic. I think that's what's gonna happen, and she's just gonna, with that baby head on a stick. That's what I think's gonna happen. That's the final showdown. If I'm right, I'm right. That is my guess. And the daughter might do like sing a lullaby, and then I think that's the final showdown. That's how the final big baddie, Mama dies in Evil Dead Rise. And I'm the first one to say that. I guarantee it. Guarantee it's gonna happen. And another thing is this, the eyes. Let's talk about the eyes just for a minute. We all know in Evil Dead, it's about the white eyes. Even though in Army of Darkness, the other eyes were introduced where it's more of the Exorcist look, And in Ash vs. Evil Dead, they had the black eyes. Now, the Exorcist eyes and the black eyes, like in Ash vs. Evil Dead, represent like a higher demon, not just a regular Deadite. And the Deadite term came from Evil Dead 2 from the 1300 AD medieval people. That's where that came from. To us, now, they're all demons. That's what they are. They're just demons across the board, but that's what they call them, is Deadites. So, will we see the white eyes? We don't know. And I know there was comments out there about, and I see what they mean, that this film seems very Exorcist-like, because for people like me and a few other people, I get that, because when it comes to certain eye looks, that's what identifies what they are. Now, when it came to the white eyes, it was Deadites. When it came to the other eyes, they were Exorcist. It was Exorcist. So, and if you got rid of the book, the daggers, and everything else, Exorcist and Evil Dead is very similar, where it's a possession, case of possession. That's what it is, but it's a different possession. So for me, I really hope I see the white eyes in this film somewhere. But we know that the mother who is possessed is like a main badass demon, because there is one page right here in which that's who is possessing her, and could be that lady of the lake as well, right here. The thing with the cabinet, I know it's gonna be a backstory from the 90s or something like that. And I know that same demon's gonna possess the mom in the city. I just keep holding this thing because it's very cool. Evil Dead 2, of course, we already talked about this. But here are my thoughts and my concerns. Now, my concerns are this. I know they're expanding on the Evil Dead universe, and that's really what I want, but I want it connected to everything else. Ash doesn't have to be in it for me. I just want it connected together. Will this book be one of the 6 volumes? See, we've seen one. Oh my gosh, what's going on over there? If you can guess that movie, put it in the comments. And I've already mentioned whoever wrote and directed that's name already once in this video. Anyways, my concern is this. With that recap they're gonna do from the 90s, is that gonna be a separate book? In the original Evil Dead 1 script, there were 6 different books, 6 volumes that was held by different tribes, and the witch doctor or whatever, the medicine man, was the only one who could harness the powers, which I knew that's where they're going with Pablo and Ash vs. Evil Dead, and they kind of just dropped that ball and they just made him the especial, you know? But will it be a different book? Because if it is a different book and it expands, I am down. If it is like they're like, nope, it's the same book, that's it, that's gonna piss me off. Not really piss me off, but just kind of go, oh man, really? Because why? We already have this universe set. Let's expand on it instead of making a retelling of that and just say, well, this is the same Necronomicon. I don't want that. That's just my concern with it. Regardless, if you're gonna like the film or hate the film, this is what we got. So I do suggest to go out and see it. And honestly, you never know. I mean, either you're gonna think it's really good, or if it's okay, or you're gonna think it's this.
Fart Blossom Special.
But regardless, that's what we have, and be grateful for what we have. So there's just a few things about the movie Evil Dead Rise coming out, things you may not have known, things you gotta look for, and my concerns and what I'm thinking of. I'm excited for it. I'm more intrigued than anything else. So I will be at the theaters opening night to go see it. Hope you guys will be too. Until next time, you stay groovy.